Oh no, I'm stuck on here. It's the end of the world.
I love you. I love you.
Every day she grows larger and more powerful. Hello, I'm Sawyer. My pronouns are they, them. Today I'm going to be making a keychain, a crocheted keychain, and telling stories about cats that I have had. Probably going to be a short video, I hope. We'll see. Apologies for the mess. My house is messy, and I work during the day on weekdays, so I don't have time to clean it up because we're living that 9 to 5 life, at least for now. I think I'll start with Chester. So Chester was my little brown tabby cat who recently passed away at age 15. But when I got her, she was 6 weeks old, and she was the teeniest, tiniest baby with a triangle tail. Just really sweet little kitten. And she had a lot of personality, especially when she was younger. When she got older, she kind of like chilled out. But when I got her at the same time as this other cat, Malcolm, who was her brother. And Chester was in charge. Chester would tell Malcolm to go check stuff out for her if if she didn't know if it was safe. She'd be like, go check that out. And Malcolm would be like, okie doke. So at one point she did that when the oven door was open and Malcolm jumped on the oven door, and then I've never seen a cat move so fast. He like levitated to another room, like meow. But one time, I was sitting on the couch eating French fries, and Chester and Malcolm were in the door, like conspiring, and Chester goes, Malcolm, go check it out. So Malcolm comes over and is like, hello, I'm adorable. May I have a French fry? And I was like, you can't have a French fry. You're a cat. Okay, well, you're really cute. I'll give you a French fry. And then, so I gave him the French fry, and then he took it back and gave it to Chester. And Chester ate it, and with every sign of enjoyment. And then Malcolm came back to me and he's like, can I have a French fry? And I'm like, no, you gave your French fry to your sister. You don't get to have another French fry. Okay, well, you're really cute. It's only fair if you both get a French fry. And he took that one back to Chester too. And then he came back and I'm like, no, you keep feeding them to your sister. You don't get to have as many, like, Chester doesn't get to have as many French fries as she wants. So, but they were really cute. But then I wound up having to move out with just Chester. And then Chester was so used to being around another cat that she was very lonely in my new place. So I decided to get her a pet. So, like, every time that I've gone to get a cat, I have had a different large orange cat in mind. And every time I have wound up with a different cat, because you don't choose the cat chooses you. So the story of how I got Chester, I had visited with this huge orange cat at the shelter. His name was Mufasa, but I was going to change his name to Dog because I've always wanted a huge cat named Dog. But yeah, so I I had submitted my application for Mufasa, but then my landlord took forever to call the shelter back. So Mufasa got adopted, but I was like, okay, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get a huge orange cat. This is going to happen. So the only day that my partner and I had off together, we drove out to the shelter, which was like 45 minutes away. And we get there and they're like, oh, all of our cats are at the agricultural festival. And we're like, well, when does that end? And they're like, half an hour from now. And it's half an hour away. And we're like, okay, well, this is like the only time we're going to have off together for like another month. And I'm like, I'm not going home without a cat. And my partner says, well, Carlos at work said that his porch cat just had kittens. And I was like, I didn't want a kitten, but if we're going to get kittens, we're going to get 2 kittens. This is a very unfocused story. But yeah, so we went and we got Chester and Malcolm. And they were just the smidgiest, bittiest babies. And then, yeah, so Chester was lonely, on her own in my house, so I got her a pet. But this time I picked out an orange cat named Captain Jack, and I was gonna go get him on free cat day. So I was like, free cat, I'm there, I'm gonna get Captain Jack. So I called the shelter and I said, what location is Captain Jack going to be at? And they were like, he's going to be in the back room at the mall. I'm like, cool, I'm there. So I went to the mall. It was a huge pain in the butt to get there. It was like an hour away. And I show up and Captain Jack is not there. And all they had were kittens. And I was like, I didn't want a kitten. I have an adult cat. I want another adult cat. And they said, well, the only adult we have here is this one. She's a 1.5 years old. And I looked at her and she's like this itty bitty little cat. And I was like, I wanted a big orange cat. So I went over and I said hi. And I was like, you're very sweet, but I'm going to fill out a form for Captain Jack. So I was doing that. And then this other person was over at this cat's cage and said, she's not letting me pet her, but she's responding to your voice. And I was like, did I get another small, not orange cat? And the answer was yes, I did. So that was Cece. And Cece's shelter name was Shannon, which just like, you can't have a cat named Shannon. It's just not appropriate. I mean, I'm sorry to people out there whose cats' names are Shannon, but like Steve is an appropriate name for a cat, or like I can't, there are women's names that are appropriate for girl cats, but Shannon is not a cat name. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. So yeah, so I got Cece, and I brought her home, and then Chester and Cece were the best of friends for about 13 years, and Cece was really funny because she was really, really shy, especially when I first got her, and like, by the time she passed away, she had stopped being shy at all. It took 13 years, but she blossomed. She would come out during a party and say hi to everyone, whereas before you wouldn't see her for the whole party, or like she'd run as soon as the door opened. So yeah, but my favorite Cece story, I was living in this apartment. What happened here? Hold on. Okay. I was living in this apartment that had a staircase to downstairs in the middle of the apartment, and then downstairs was another apartment that we didn't have the key to. So there was a shelf up above the staircase, and one day Cece went up over the banister and got onto the shelf and started squeaking piteously. Cece couldn't meow, she could only squeak. Squeaking piteously, like, oh no, I'm stuck on here. It's the end of the world. Um, so, oh, you know what? I never introduced what I'm making. Well, I should do that. I'll do that now, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story. So, I'm making, a keychain, that holds lip balm. So it's gonna hold lip. It's like a little pocket for lip balm, and I'm using this yarn that I got off of Temu because I'm a sucker, but it was really cheap and really cute, and I like it. And I don't know if they're still selling it, but if they are, you should get some because it's really cute and was not a lot of. I don't want to advertise for Temu. Don't buy stuff off of Temu. It's an evil corporation, but I'm happy that I have the yarn, even though I shouldn't have bought it. Anyway, Cece gets onto this shelf, and she's squeaking, and I'm about to leave for work, and I'm like trying to get her off of the shelf and like leaning over the banister. And she's just rubbing her face against me like, I love you. I'm panicking, but I love you. And I'm just like, okay, well, I don't have time for this. I have to go to work. So I leave for work. And then when I get home from work, I had forgotten my key. So I had to climb in through the window. I had to like walk across the roof and climb in through the window, which is directly opposite the shelf. So so I'm climbing in the window, and Cece, who was asleep on the shelf, looked up, saw me, said, and jumped down, because she could have done that the whole time, apparently. So that's my favorite Cece story. She was not very intelligent. She had about 3 brain cells, and didn't use them most of the time. So, very sweet little cat. Cece passed away November 2022, and then Chester passed away December of 23. And when Cece passed away, Chester couldn't handle being alone, so I had to get her another pet. So I went to the shelter specifically to get an orange cat named Herman. I had them all picked out, and I got to the shelter, and they were like, oh, Herman is a bitey boy. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't have a bitey boy because Chester's, 15 and can't handle being around someone so bitey. So I went and said hi to all the cats. No one was clicking. Just no cat was clicking with me. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll give up and come back another day. When one of the volunteers said, oh, I know this cat that would be perfect for you, and she's in the overflow room. So he takes me upstairs to the overflow room where there's one cat, and he lets her out of her little cage, and she jumps down and immediately comes over to me, rubs her face on me, lies down on the floor and says, I love you. I love you. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly this is the cat. And she reached out, grabbed my hand, and pulled it to her face to pet her. She still does this. So that I was like, this is the cat, even though she's black and white. And I said that I wanted a big orange cat again. So I took her home. She was about 1.5 years old. She is very much a baby, but she weighed 12 pounds, and she was underweight at that point. So now she weighs close to 18 pounds. She's a big girl. So I named her Lady Sybil Ramkin. and I covered this in another video, but basically she's named after a Discworld character who is also very large and very charismatic. Yeah, so we call her Sybil. By we, I mean me. And then when Chester passed away, Sybil was kind of clearly very lonely without another cat around. So I went out and I got a baby cat. And I went specifically to the kitten room and said, I'm going to get a kitten. And there were a couple cats that I had in mind. There were no orange cats. This is the only time that I didn't have a specific orange cat in mind. But there was a gray and white cat that I liked in particular. But he was kind of not interested in me when I went in there and was meeting all the cats. So yeah, so like none of the kittens were really interested in me, and no one was really clicking. But finally I realized that there was one kitten who was curled up inside of a cat condo. And she was a little brown tabby, and I said I had told myself I wasn't gonna get another brown tabby. But, you know, I was like, well, we'll give it a shot. So I petted her, it woke her up, and then I was petting some of the other kittens, and little brown tabby comes over and sits next to me, and the volunteer, who was the same volunteer who led me to Sybil, by the way, was like, she's waiting for your attention. And I look over and she's right over here, like, hello. So I picked her up and put her on my lap, and she just sat down and is like, I live here now. And I'm like, okay. Well, we found the cat. Her shelter name was Marge. And I struggled to settle on a name for her for about a week before I finally settled on Baroness Cleopatra von Mousington, or Cleo for short. And you have seen Cleo. She has an enormous bushy tail. She was almost just named Mouse, but everyone was like, don't name that cat Mouse. And I'm like, I mean, she looks like a mouse, but she also looks like a Cleo, so it's fine. And I got Mouse in her name, Von Mousington, so. But yeah, so that's Cleo, and she is 8 months old. I had some people over a few weeks ago, and they were all like, she looks like an adult cat. And I was like, no, she's gonna get bigger than this. She is far too tiny to be an adult cat. Though I know that there are adult cats who are 6.5 pounds, which is how much she weighed at the time. I don't know how much she weighs now. Every day she grows larger and more powerful. So now I have these two very sweet girl cats, one of whom is enormous, and the other of whom is teeny tiny. So they went through the history with Sybil for me. Sybil's shelter name was Baja. What? So, yeah, so they're walking me through Sybil's history, and they're like, oh, Sybil, well, they're like, Baja, she was adopted when she was 8 weeks old, and then a family had her for 10 months, and then they said that she didn't get along with their cats, so they brought her back. And then that day, apparently, a family had selected her, gone through the whole adoption process, put her in a carrier, walked out of the door with her, then 5 minutes later came back and returned her because they wanted a different cat. So, and then that was why she was in the overflow room. So it was fate that Sybil wound up with me. I think. If you know, and Sybil gets along with other cats. You just have to introduce them correctly. So, and it took about a month to introduce her to Chester, and then when I got Cleo, it took about a month to introduce those two as well. But you just have to take it really slowly. And, like, now they play and stuff, and, like, they'll hang out on the same piece of furniture, like, fairly close to each other, and I'm sure eventually we'll get to the place where they're cuddling. It just takes a little bit of time. So, those are my girls. One time, I couldn't find Chester all day, and I was searching high and low. Like, I looked through the whole house, like, 3 times, just, like, calling to her, really worried about her, worried that she'd, like, run out when someone opened the door, and she wouldn't have known how to exist out of doors. She was very much an indoor cat and scared of the outdoors. So finally, at the end of the day, I was getting my pajamas out to go to bed, and I was really worried. And right out of the pajama drawer, she was behind the drawer, and she'd been sleeping there all day, like a weirdie. I wish one of my cats would make a guest appearance. Cleo! Hi, baby. Cleo makes little whiny noises. I love when cats have their own distinct noise profile. So, like, Sybil she chirps. She makes little chirping noises. It's very rare you'll get an actual meow out of her. And Cleo doesn't meow, she whines. And she'll, like, come and sit on the couch and roll around and just whine because she wants attention, even when I'm paying attention to her. Chester had a cranky meow. She sounded like she was complaining when she meowed. And she would say, meow wow, meow wow. I taught her a great trick, though. She had one trick that she could do. You'd take out a treat, and you'd say, Chester, how does the kitty cat go? And she would say, meow. And you'd say, very good, and give her a treat. Or a goldfish. She loved goldfish crackers. She was always the belle of the ball. Anytime I had a party, Chester was the center of attention the whole time. She's like, yes, I am here for you to love me. So she would go around and say hello to everyone and sit in people's laps and just generally be the belle of the ball. It was so funny, like, Cece, like I said, was really scared of people. And then, like, a few months before she passed away, she came out during a party and went and sat in someone's lap, like a stranger. And I was like, what is happening? This is a cat who was scared of everything. So I was like, you must be something special to my party guest. And they were like, yeah, I'm the cat whisperer, I guess. So we have a completed keychain. I think it looks pretty cute. And then, oh ho, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. So you just put that on your keychain or on a bag or something, and then you have your little lip balm. And that's really cute. I made up the pattern because it's like the easiest possible pattern you can make. Attaching it to the keychain was the hardest part for me because I've never done something like that before, but I literally just single crocheted it onto the keychain. Here, I'll hold it up so you can see. This is how cute it is. So, yup. Quick video today. Didn't take too long to film. Hopefully it helped keep you company while you were doing something else. Or if you watched the screen, then I'm sorry, it was just my face and my hands moving a little bit down here. That's all for the day. So, please tell all your friends. Thank you to my 11 subscribers. And please engage with this. Give it a like. Give it a comment that says, I have cats too. Or just like, yeah, say something nice. Don't break my heart. Yeah, but engage in some way. More subscribers would be lovely, but I'm not holding out hope for that. Yeah, so thanks so much for watching. Bye!